Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, however you're watching, wherever you're watching, however you listen, wherever you're listening. It's the Bet Online Salute Detroit podcast, and it's the dynamic duo. We got the madman here with us today. Jamal, how are you? Jamal, I want to ask you this.
Yes, sir.
I'm not going to give too much information, but how's work? Is work good?
Well, I mean, it's been better, Fred.
Okay.
But it's been an interesting time for sure.
I'm asking that from a good place, though. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's legit a good place. So that's good. You're fighting the waves and you're getting through it. That's all that matters.
Getting through it. Absolutely. Fighting the good fight. Fighting the good fight, Fred. Absolutely.
I understand.
It's funny. It just dawned upon me while you were talking about dynamic duo. When Ryan is here, we're the bearded bandits. But it feels like when it's just you and me, Fred, like, look at the wardrobe here. We're the men in black. I mean,
there you go. Men in black. That's exactly it. The Men in Black. I'll take that. That was a pretty good movie.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'll take that. You're doing everything else as well, too. How's everything going? How are you doing today?
Well, absolutely. As I was mentioning to you off air, it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday are the days that I work out right before the show. So I usually get done about 10 or 15 minutes before we jump on. And I'm basically just lying on the floor for those 10 or 15 minutes, waiting for the fuzzy green spots to sort of go away, after a workout. That's what happens, Fred, when you haven't been a finely tuned athlete your whole life like yourself, So I'm starting from a place of pedestrian.
Don't let that fool you, because if I was to work out right now, I would be laying right next to you, like waiting for the fuzzy green spots to go. Somebody at work asked me, they said, how many more series do you have left in you? I said, I have 1 series in me and I only have 2 downs. So we better get a stop. We better get a stop.
Well, how you doing, Fred? How's life going for you? How was the weekend? How last couple of days since we got together?
I'm doing good. Life is good. Everything's good. Spending a lot of time at LAX right now, which is interesting, learning a lot of LAX stuff. So, but other than that, everything's good. No complaints. Baby girl's doing well. She's growing. Yeah. Baby boy's doing well. He's growing. Big boy had opening day baseball on Saturday. So
that's what you were mentioning. How did that go?
It went good. He was excited about that. Yeah, just, it's that time of year, baseball. He's big into baseball. So he's in his world right now, in his zone. We actually went to Big 5 and got like this thing to help him hit. He was so geeked about it. He couldn't put it down. Like, it's crazy. Even though they're 10, you give them a new toy and they just can't put it down. He has his little brother right behind him trying to help out. And you know what I mean? So,
that's so sweet. Oh, that's amazing.
Family dynamic, man. It's can't beat it, right?
No doubt.
Other than that, life is good. No complaints.
I love it. Well, let me ask you this. I know you and I are both baseball guys, in addition to being SC guys, LA sports guys, all that good stuff. I know you and I are both big Dodger guys. What is your feeling? Obviously, Ohtani's, kind of going through the arm stuff and kind of the Tommy John and all of that. How do you feel about Ohtani only hitting this year? That was the announcement today.
I knew he was going to only hit because of Tommy John.
Yeah.
I got a good friend who's a baseball coach at the college level. He was like, Ohtani's not throwing one ball this year, and they won't let him get near a ball unless it's some type of rehab or anything like that. So that didn't surprise me. The thing about it is that lineup is scary.
Yeah.
When you look at it, you're looking at Mookie Betts, and then you have to decide who's batting second. Is it going to be Freeman or Ohtani? And then you have Freeman or Ohtani. And then you look at like Gavin Lux, right? And Gavin Lux can hit. Ottman can hit. Max Muncy is going to be up there in that lineup. Like 1 through 6 is just ridiculous. Oh, Will Smith could also hit.
Absolutely.
Right? So now you're looking at 1 through 7 is just, in reality, like brass tacks. They gave Dave Roberts everything he needed. No more excuses.
Yep.
He's probably, in all of professional sports, the manager that's gotten off the most of failing. Nobody says anything about it, even though he's in one of the toughest media markets. Everybody kind of just let it go up under the rug. He has a championship that's kind of you know what I mean? We'll take it, but it's kind of but this is his year. He has no choice. Like, if he doesn't do it this year.
Yeah, I feel like we've been saying that the last 4 years, Fred. It's just we're the 90s Braves all over again. So hopefully we can get some, because this team just over the last 6 or 7 years has been so talented. It's a shame there aren't 2 or 3 more banners hanging, because it feels like this team has had 2 more in them.
Well. There should be a legit banner hanging.
Yeah, but with the Astros here.
With the Astros, but they got cheated. So, but they should have been 3-5, 2-4. You know what I mean? Like, just it's like I said, this is Dave Roberts has to do it this year, or
for sure
there'll be a new manager in LA, and I think he knows that.
Oh, for sure, yeah. I'm waiting for Fred. I'm waiting for a UCLA Bruin joke over here, because Dave Roberts is a Bruin, so I was waiting for it. You were setting it up over there.
No, I wasn't. I didn't. First of all, I didn't even know that, but then I just, I know he played for the Dodgers for a little bit, but it's just, I'm just kind of, I always wondered why.
Yeah.
Nobody in all the major markets.
That's fair.
LA Times, nobody ever put any pressure on him like that. How do you get away with that? I will say this. I will give him a little reprieve. The playoff setup is terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible. So if I'm Dave Roberts, I'm coming in second place every year because I don't stop playing. I still playing and I stay hot. But they're just so much better than everybody. And then they get that break and they just get caught slipping. So it is what it is. But I love the Dodgers. They're not as disappointed as the Lakers, but that's a different story for another day.
Story for another day. We could have a 3-hour podcast on that. So
yeah. But I will say this. I want to ask you this question, since we're talking about other sports right now. This is my question for you.
Yes, sir.
Who do you have in the NCAA championship? And who do you have winning? I did my bracket yesterday, my first bracket yesterday. I'll probably do 4 more before the game start on Thursday. People send you brackets all the time. Brian just sent the thing out to the whole network saying who wants to do one. So I'll probably do about 4 more. They're like Super Bowl squares. You do it, you're not going to win, but it's worth the chance. Who do you have in the championship, and who do you have winning it?
Well, the one thing I'll say, Fred, even before we jump into it, this could be a year where I think the women's tournament might be more compelling than the men's. When you talk about Caitlin Clark and obviously Juju Watkins of USC, and when you talk about Angel Reese of LSU and undefeated South Carolina and UConn with Paige Beckers, and there's a lot of star power in this women's bracket, and there's kind of the opportunity potentially for even USC to play UCLA for the championship. I mean, there's just all kinds of matchups right now where I think the women's tournament is going to be just as prime time and showtime as the men, if not more so. Now, having said that, in terms of the men's bracket here, Fred, the 2 teams that I like quite a bit, just in terms of path to the championship, one is UConn, and the other is Carolina. I think those are 2 teams that I've got my eye on. And I think if UConn plays the way they're capable of playing, I think UConn is going to be cutting down the nets. Now, they do have a pretty difficult region. They have Florida Atlantic possibly in the second round. They've got San Diego State. They've got, a couple of other really tricky teams there in the Elite Eight. But I think if they get through, I like UConn as the team that just has been the most complete team all year. I don't trust Purdue with a $10 bill in my back pocket. I don't trust Houston, and I don't trust, second-seeded Arizona. I think Auburn is wildly inconsistent. They could get hot. If they're hitting shots, they're as good as anybody. But I think it's going to be sort of a wild time. But if I had to pick a team to win 6 straight, I think it would be the defending national champions in UConn.
So I'm gonna defer from my question. I'm gonna break the rules because you said 2 teams when I was doing it last night. I was like, oh, look at this path. It's set up for them. So 2 teams to worry about. Arizona is 1 team to worry about because Arizona and Michigan State are always scary in the tournament.
Right.
Izzo sets his team up, right? But they don't never have enough to win it. But my final 4, UConn, UNC, Houston, Gonzaga. Gonzaga has a really
Ooh,
good path too. Gonzaga's path,
interesting. Okay.
and I have UConn knocking off North Carolina, right? I have Houston knocking off Gonzaga. I think Houston's just a little bit more athletic. The winner is UConn. So
Yeah.
I'm with you with the UConn being the winner. I think UConn is back. You know what I mean? But
Now they're so big up front, Fred.
yeah.
Like they're gonna get every rebound when it matters. And then
And they
they've
push
got
the ball.
and they push the ball. They've got good wing play, and they got vets on the wing.
Yeah.
It's 5th-year guys, 4th-year guys. I really like their composition. I think come crunch time, there's always tough games, tight games in the tournament, especially when you get into that second week and onwards. I think UConn is best positioned to really succeed here.
All right, last question, basketball related question.
Yes, sir.
You would know this. Does UCLA have a new coach next year, or are things okay for him right now?
Nah, Cronin's back. There's a lot of chatter right now about Louisville and whatnot. He's got a $28 million buyout, and I think he loves UCLA. I can't fathom a scenario where Mick Cronin leaves UCLA this year. Both Andy Enfield and Mick Cronin are back for different reasons, but they're both back.
Yeah. I mean, and then Cronin, he went to like 3 straight Final Fours prior to this year. He just had I think this is a one-off. I think.
He went to 3 straight. It was Sweet 16s, and then he had the first 4 to Final Four run. He's got 1 Final Four and then 2 other Sweet 16s. I mean, they were a 2 seed last year, so this is just a rebuilding year. Stojakovic's kid just went into the transfer portal from Stanford, and it was down to kind of Stanford and UCLA last year. I think UCLA's got a shot to go get Stojakovic's kid, and today's kind of a big day. Transfer portal Monday in college basketball. So a lot of movement there. And it's also going to be interesting to see what happens with SC in basketball, Fred. Obviously, I think Collier is gone. Boogie Ellis, Joshua Morgan, DJ Rodman, all those guys are going to be gone. I think Bronny's gone. I think Kobe Johnson's gone. I think SC's in a situation where probably the top 6 guys are going to be gone. So it's going to be a ton of turnover.
Portal or NBA draft?
For Bronny?
For the top 6 guys for USC.
So Ellis has termed out. He's aged out. So he'll
DJ Rodman also.
DJ Rodman's aged out, so he's going to try for the draft. Collier is a lottery pick candidate, so he's going to the draft. Morgan's also aged out, and then it comes down. Kobe Johnson's an underclassman. I think he's going to try to go to the draft, and I think, of course, Bronny, with the legacy factor there, I think is going to go to the draft as well.
I also, the good thing about college basketball is that you could declare and not sign an agent.
Right.
And then if you don't like where things are projecting, you can always come back.
I
don't know why they don't have it for football, which I think is completely unfair, but it is what it is. All right, let's get down to business.
Look at that. We went 13 minutes and haven't even talked football yet. I love it. Rye might have to do some editing.
Nah, he doesn't have to do it. He's all good. I mean, it just shows our.
It's the versatility, Fred.
Yeah,
we're Renaissance sports people, So that's why, please continue to watch us.
So, continue with our draft series. I guess it just became a draft series because we've been searching for things to talk about. So we'll just continue with our draft series until April. Today we're going to talk about the guys we talked about last week, but this time we're going to talk about where we think they should go in the NFL draft. 13 is on the table this time, right? And we're saying where we think they should go in the NFL draft. Not saying they should, where they think.
Where they would be best positioned to succeed. So not necessarily like they would go 3rd pick or 6th pick to this team, but just, hey, if you could pick any one of these teams for any one of these players, what team sets them up best for success?
You know what's going to happen, though, right?
What's going to happen?
You're crazy. Why would he go there? Why would you say that?
When is it not, Fred? That's what's so fun. And I love our viewers. They're so passionate. So it's, let's get ready. Let's get the popcorn ready and get the controversy ready.
All right. So here we go. Should we save the best for last, or should we just start at the top of the list?
Your call, boss.
We'll start at the bottom this time.
Okay.
Solomon Byrd, not great. He might go Saturday as a free agent. If he does go, he'll go Friday, 7th round, right? or Saturday 7th round.
Yep.
They changed this thing up. I'm still in my mind. I'm used to Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah. No, it's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday now. Yeah, it used to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, I'm used to the old school way where the first 3 rounds are the first day, and then the rest. Yeah. So we're looking at 7th round. It is what it is. Face of reality, right? So where does he go that puts him in the best situation possible? If this was 10 years ago, to give him a fighting chance, I say New England as an undrafted free agent, right? A lot of things have changed and things like that. So you have to go where people develop defensive guys. And there's one team that develops defensive guys. And during fall camp and the preseason games, there's so many NFL scouts scouting this team's defensive guys because they develop them so well. I think the best fit for him is in Baltimore. The reason why is because he just needs to develop, right? And he needs to become a pro. Draft grade's not that great. Didn't really play that great this season at SC. You know, like I always say, I wish nothing but the best, but we got to pay the brass tacks, right? Got to pay the piper. So Baltimore is the best place for him to go to develop and try to have a career of longevity in the NFL. What do you think?
Yeah, no, Fred, I think you and I are on the same page. When you look at a Solomon Byrd, he's somebody who's very raw. And I don't think we necessarily saw the year-over-year progression that we were hoping. He kind of flattened out a bit during his time at SC. There's some ingredients there to like, but overall, there's nothing that quite jumps off the page in terms of whether it's his explosiveness, whether it's his use of the hands, whether it's his aggression, whether it's his technique. So he needs to go to a situation where he is going to develop. I completely agree with you. 10 years ago, that would be a New England. Right now, Baltimore can't go wrong with that. The team I like for him in that same ilk of Baltimore, Fred, is the Houston Texans because of DeMeco Ryans. And when you think of DeMeco Ryans and how he's built that Texans defense as a defensive guy, what he's doing with Will Anderson, what he's doing with some of those Bama guys, what an explosive defense with a number of young players. And then just look where he was before that with the Niners and how he developed that front four and that front seven with the likes of a Bosa and others. So when you talk about a defensive guru, a young guy, a relatable guy, to me, DeMeco Ryans would be just kind of the ideal coach if you're a front seven prospect. And so for those reasons, I would love to see Solomon Byrd, for the sake of his career trajectory, to be with the Houston Texans.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a flip of, but that does make sense. I like that. DeMeco Ryans, and he does have that ability to look what he's did on defense this year. Look what he did with the Texans. Just
remarkable.
Just a side note. I'm happy what he did with the Texans. I'm happy he got the opportunity. I don't like what we never talked about this, and we'll talk about it at a later date, but just real quick, I don't like what the Texans did to Lovey, because Lovey did put a very good product on the field with what he had, and they really didn't give him a chance. But we'll table that, and we'll talk about that another day. But, I mean, that's a great conversation to have. Let's move on to Jared Kingston. So when you look at Jared Kingston's scouting report, a number of guys come to mind, and they all come from the same tree, right? Shanahan, McVay, McDaniels, LaFleur. All those guys, I don't think I missed one. They all come from the same tree. I don't think he's good enough right now to go to San Francisco, so San Francisco's out. But I think he could develop in LA, and I think he can develop in Green Bay. Those are the best two places for him because there's established veteran linemen in those two places that's been there for a while and can make him really – he's a project also, right? But he can run that outside zone and inside zone. He has that type of footwork, but he doesn't have very long arms. I think he needs to bump down to center and become very good zone center. Jason Kelsey type. Not the biggest guy in the world, but if you're smart enough to do it, I think he'll excel really well, and he could get a lot of help at center from a guard and pass protection, which avoids his flaws. What do you think?
No, I really like that, Fred. I love the Green Bay comparison there with an offensive guru that understands offensive line positioning. So completely agree there. I think another spot that could be very useful for Kingston, again, as a developmental project, someone that understands the power of offensive line play at a very deep level for a number of years. What about the LA Chargers with Harbaugh? I mean, when you think about Harbaugh and his career, whether it was Stanford and building those great teams through the offensive line, whether it was the Niners and building through, sort of in the trenches, and then, of course, all the success that he's had in Michigan, Harbaugh is an offensive line power running guy through and through. And what better to sort of bring in a project that you think has some nice ingredients to be able to mold and shape in the ilk of a power offense that you would like. So I think Green Bay would be a great fit for Kingston. I also love the Chargers. And particularly when you're talking about projects, anything that you can do to make their life easier, like be able to stay at home and be where you went to college, that's just one complexity that you're taking off the table. You're already getting used to a new game. You're getting used to having to play with professionals, getting used to get paid. It's different stakes, different speed. There's a different toughness. There's a different approach to the game. So the fact that you can kind of take out the location piece at least and have one less thing to worry about and then play for a coach that has significant offensive line pedigree and knowledge feels like the Chargers could be a really nice fit for Kingston.
Here's my only question about going to Chargers. Do you think he'll be able to excel in a gap scheme compared to a zone scheme? Because his weakness is one of his weaknesses is his strength. Yeah. So do you think he'll be able to play in a gap scheme?
It's a great point. And I mean, I think that's why where he is right now, Green Bay probably fits a little bit better. But again, when you talk about getting him into the weight room, getting him into sort of strength and conditioning, and Harbaugh's famous for having kind of his strength and conditioning guys come with him at every spot with his inner circle. So if you can kind of mold him, I think he's still young enough where he can learn the gap scheme. And he's got the pieces too, Fred. I mean, it's sort of disparate. You see it in flashes in terms of just like the hand explosiveness, the willingness to sort of engage in terms of the defensive line perspective. And so to me, I think there's an opportunity there. I agree with you. He's not quite there yet, but that's what makes kind of Harbaugh special.
Mm-hmm. Good deal. So let's move on to Tahj Washington.
Ooh.
Man. So when you think Tahj Washington, you think, I mean, whoever gets him is going to be lucky, in my opinion, right? But he has to go where he fits. There's a spot where he fits, and they're making a lot of noise right now. But I don't want him to go there because the organization is just so bad. And I don't think he'll succeed there because the organization is so bad. And they're missing a slot receiver to be complete, right? So, I mean, I think Chicago's the spot for him. I think he's that last piece in Chicago, and that is the spot for him. Like I said, he's Steve Smith. I don't think he's Steve Smith 2.0, but he's really close to Steve Smith. Like my comparison is Steve Smith, and we're talking USC New York Giants Steve Smith, but he's that slot. They got DJ Moore. They just got another receiver. Oh my God, it was big news. But they got DeAndre Swift.
Yep.
They got the Chargers receiver,
Keenan
Allen. They got Keenan Allen. They got DJ Moore. They got DeAndre Swift.
It's loaded. Yeah.
Right. All they need is a slot. There's your slot guy right there. And here's the good thing about it. You could get Tahj on Friday for a better value and just get him to his second contract. And if it doesn't work out, he could go somewhere else because he's good enough, or he gets paid and just gets the money that he deserves. But to cap off what the Bears need in that receiving core and with all the weapons they have, I think Tahj Washington is that perfect fit. What do you think?
Man, I like that one, Fred. Absolutely. And especially when you talk about the prospect of Caleb going number one, now that Justin Fields has been cleared out to Pittsburgh, can you imagine bringing that reunion back together there? Mm-hmm. So again, Caleb has more comfort, and it's just another enticement to make him, feel situated and settled in Chicago, given all the noise that's taken place the last few months. I really like that because Moore is kind of more of a home run threat. Keenan Allen's an in-between guy. And now you've got the underneath piece with Tahj, and then, of course, DeAndre Swift in the backfield. That fits really nicely. And then, of course, the familiarity with potentially the number one pick in Caleb Williams. I'll tell you one other spot that I really like for Tahj Washington where you could see him fit in really nicely from a slot underneath perspective, and you mentioned this team earlier, is Baltimore. Can you imagine him, when you got Lamar Jackson and now you got King Henry back there? What was the one thing, Fred, we saw this year, particularly in that Ravens-Chiefs playoff game? Lamar just looked so unsettled in pressure situations, trying to force the ball down the field, always trying to make the big play. It just felt like he didn't have comfort with his underneath stuff.
He needs a security blanket.
That be great, right? Having that kind of slot security blanket, give me my 6, give me my 7. Let's stay in front of the chains so then we can run, with Henry. Then we can do, sort of the option game. We can do sort of the RPO game and stay in front of the chains, control the clock, control the line of scrimmage. And then when you add the fact that Tahj Washington is such a supreme blocker, doesn't that fit in very nicely with what Baltimore's trying to do? Yeah. Their receivers always seemingly are such great blockers because they run the ball so well. So I think Tahj Washington in Baltimore could also be a match made in heaven.
No, I don't even have any disagreement with that. I think that is a good fit. Just to give that Lamar Jackson that, all right, I know where I could go if I'm scrambled.
Exactly.
My slot receiver would be open. Scramble drill. There you go, Tahj. All right, we didn't lose any yards. It's not incomplete. It's not an interception. We gained yards. Let's just get to the next down. So he gives Lamar that opportunity to get to the next down, which passing rating goes up, yards goes up, completion percentage goes up just because of that one piece. So I definitely like that one. Let's move on to Christian Roland-Wallace. So when I think Christian Roland-Wallace, I think he should be a safety, right? And we'll talk about him two ways. We'll talk about him if he's going to be a safety or if he's going to be a corner, okay?
Yeah.
If he's going to be a safety, he'll succeed in the NFL, right? Two places come to mind to me when you think of Christian Roland-Wallace, right? One place is you could put him behind very good veteran safeties right now, and he could be a special teams guy, maybe practice squad, but he could learn. And that's Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? Land of the safeties. They're known for their safeties. The next place that comes to mind to me, and you mentioned him earlier, is put him with D'Amico in Houston, right?
Yep.
As a safety. As a corner, his options are so limited because he's so stiff. I guess the Colts, because they still run that cover 2 scheme. I don't know who else runs it, but you have to keep him as a cover 2 corner because he'll just get torched in man. Maybe somebody who runs cover 3, Dan Quinn, kind of. But Dan Quinn went to more man. So I don't really know where he goes as a corner, but as a safety, and for him to succeed and wait for Mika to leave Pittsburgh, and if you really want to develop him, because if he plays safety, he could go 4th round, 5th round. Definitely, no shot, no, without a doubt. And you can put him with D'Amico, develop him. Go sit behind Mika, go get better, learn how to become a pro. Real quick, real easy. So those are the two spots for me. At safety, at corner, I really don't. I can't think of any place for him at corner. He's just not an NFL corner. What do you think?
Yeah, Coach, this is a tough one here, and I really like where you're going with Pittsburgh, and I think it's a really subtle point in terms of how he stacks up in both the cover 2 as well as a cover 3 situation. Obviously, Roland-Wallace, we've talked about this a ton. It's his ability to kind of turn his hips and kind of, have that closing speed and sort of stay with you. There's things that he does well. I think with his hands, he's got good instincts in terms of where the play is going. I think the IQ is there. It's just a matter of that closing speed and just the ability of going from, hey, this is where I know the play is happening, to then getting your body to go and do that. And that's where it just takes a little bit of time for him, more so than I think is digestible for the NFL speed. And so the way I look at this, Fred, is that he needs to be in an environment where it's okay to make some mistakes, and he's got some top cover in terms of guys in the secondary with tremendous ball skills, whether that's at the corner position or at the safety position. And there's one team where when you think about the secondary and you think about the ball skills in the secondary is so far above the rest where they might take a shot on him, and that's the Cowboys. When you think about Bland, when you think about Diggs, I mean, you're talking about two guys that are basically playing receiver back there on defense, and how significant they are in terms of being able to beeline to the ball and have an instinct for the ball. You can sort of shade over to the Roland-Wallace side and kind of allow him to be a little bit more aggressive bump and run. And then on the release, you've got kind of cover on the back end there. So I think that potentially the Cowboys, just because of how stacked they are defensively, particularly that secondary position from a ball skill standpoint, Roland-Wallace can come in and fight for a rotational spot.
Yeah. I can see it. It's just hard to see.
It's hard.
It's hard with him at the corner. Moving on to the next one. Next one is Jerry's boy.
Ooh.
Jerry's boy is next on the list. So when I think of Jerry's boy, he goes back to that Shanahan tree, right? San Francisco, Rams, Dolphins, Green Bay. When you go on that list and then you start to eliminate where he doesn't fit and things like that. So he only doesn't fit in one, in my opinion. I think he does not fit in Miami. I think what Miami already has, and Miami's they run their stuff with a little bit more faster speed and skill. Yeah. They run it a little bit, kind of like Andy Reid, a little bit more faster skill. But every place else, he fits really well. He fits well in San Francisco. He fits well in LA, and he fits well in Green Bay. Now you have to start looking at the roster. There's no room for him in LA, right? He's not. All LA needs receivers got to take the top off. He's not going to take the top off. San Francisco, he fits. Green Bay, he fits. He fits in those schemes right now, right away. So I think because of legacy, San Francisco should take a shot on him, right? He helps. Think about this. You got trips or doubles, doesn't matter. You throw the ball right now to Debo, you have an excellent blocker, right? Yeah. Same thing. Even if you put Debo in the backfield, you have a blocker. And then he does really well on underneath routes, and he catches and goes. It's so deceptive, even though he's not really that fast. I don't know if it's because he's big. I don't know what does it, but he just has that factor, like he can do it. I think in those West Coast schemes, because he doesn't have to be the guy that runs the 9 route because they already have it. He could be the guy that runs the underneath routes because he could get open and create separations in those and catch the ball. Now, we know he has some problems with dropping in Colorado, but now he's become a very short catcher, and he's become a big play guy. So he could become a guy to make you hold your breath and go. So either Green Bay or San Francisco, but I think San Francisco's like, he fits with us. His dad played here. Let's take a shot. Like, his dad knows the business too. If it doesn't work out, there won't be any hard feelings. What do you think?
No, I really like that, Fred. And I think there's a conversation right now between scheme and personnel when it comes to Brenden Rice. And when you look at things from a scheme perspective, you're absolutely right. Just given his hands and his ability to kind of get open on goal routes in particular, separation has been a concern for me. But the West Coast offense kind of generates space for you by its very nature of its scheme. And all you are relying on is an accurate quarterback that knows how to read that defense and place the ball where it needs to be from an anticipatory standpoint. And when you look at San Francisco or you look at Green Bay, you're talking about Jordan Love or you're talking about Brock Purdy, both guys that know how to place the ball in a West Coast scheme. And when you talk about San Francisco in particular and the roster that they have on the outside, Debo's this sort of hybrid wide receiver, running back, tight end. You got Kittle kind of doing the dirty work over the middle. And then you've got Ayuk, who is a guy who can kind of blow the top off, a guy who's very shifty, but you kind of need a little bit of a bigger target, a guy that maybe can also kind of stretch the field, but a guy who's going to give you that 10 to 15 yards to sort of complement an Ayuk. And when you got a guy like Purdy, who's very accurate with the ball, that could make a lot of sense, especially with the sentimental value of being Jerry's son and making that happen. So I think from a scheme standpoint, San Francisco makes a ton of sense. For me, there's another axis you could look at with Brenden, and that's personnel. And I think one of the challenges with Brenden in terms of how to gauge him over the course of his college career is he's always been put in these situations where he's had to be either the number one receiver or kind of the co-1A, 1B. And I just don't think he's a number one receiver type of talent. And so I think as a result of that, you want to be placing him in a situation where he can directly learn from other folks, in that receiving room. And while he can learn a fair amount from an Ayuk, while he can learn a fair amount from a Debo, because those guys don't really sort of have his body type or his style, I wonder if it might even kind of stunt his growth a little bit. And he needs someone that can kind of be a mentor. And for those reasons, I kind of like 2 spots for him. One is Indianapolis with the Colts to learn from a Michael Pittman Jr., fellow SC guy, what it takes to be a professional receiver.
Just got paid.
You just got paid, how it takes to kind of conduct yourself, and then also be with kind of a young quarterback like Richardson. So you're sort of growing together. You can sort of make mistakes together, but you have kind of a mentor in Michael Pittman Jr., fellow SC guy. Or the other spot I kind of like for Brendan Rice is Atlanta. With Drake London, and now that they just got Kirk Cousins is a very similar quarterback, like a Brock Purdy, like a Jordan Love, a guy who's going to put the ball in the right situation. But now you're also learning from a Drake London in terms of what it takes to be really an NFL talent. You've got that SC connection. So if you're looking pure scheme, I totally agree with you. I think San Francisco is a great spot. But if you're looking from a personnel standpoint, or where can he grow and get some mentorship to truly sort of round out and fix some of the holes in his game, I really like Indianapolis or Atlanta.
You don't think Pittman and Rice are the same receiver?
No.
Okay.
I think that Rice, I think Pittman is, one of the best receivers in the game, one of the best 10 receivers in the game. But I think they can kind of complement each other really well, because I think there's a versatility element. Both guys can kind of beat you deep a little bit. They both can go underneath. They both got really good hands. I think he can learn a lot, and I think you can do a lot of things in terms of stacking them on the same side of the field, putting them on opposite sides of the field, and strain the defense in very unique ways.
So in conclusion, he just needs to go somewhere with the ex-USC receiver.
Heck yeah, right. He needs that mentorship. He needs that mentorship, right? And why not get the mentorship from wide receiver U? I mean, that's why you go to wide receiver U.
Yeah.
So
it makes it it's crazy how like these receivers though from SC are kind of they weren't really high. Well, Drake London, at first, you remember Drake London wasn't really high, and all of a sudden he ends up being the 5th pick in the NFL draft.
Yeah.
And he's earning his keep. He's doing a good job. And then Michael Pittman went like 2nd round or something like that. Yeah. Now he's the number 1 receiver for the Colts. So fight on.
Fight on, absolutely.
Definitely.
I mean, it's staggering, that 2019 team, Fred. I mean, when you talk about that 2019 Victory Bell game when all 4 of those guys went for over 100 yards receiving against UCLA. I mean, can you imagine a wide receiver room with Pittman, Drake London, Amon-Ra, and Tyler Vaughns? I mean, how that team didn't do more. It's staggering. I mean, because that was maybe the greatest receiving room this side of Alabama, I think, that we've seen in the last 10 or 15 years. I mean, obviously that great LSU team comes to mind with Jefferson and Chase. That's kind of rarefied air there. And then obviously that Judy, team with Riddle and all those guys, with Bama. And then it feels like the SC room was right there at number 3. I mean, in the last 10 or 15 years, Waddle, I should say. Yep.
Yeah. So moving on from that, this one, I need some time to think about it, so I'll let you go first. But because I just don't know where he fits, man. Calen Bullock, safety. I know he's a 1 high safety.
Yep.
He's a 1 high safety, but Calen Bullock, I'll let you take away. I just need some more time to think on this one about where he needs to go. What do you think about Calen Bullock? Where do you think he fits?
Yeah, it's interesting, Fred. I think obviously we've talked a lot about Calen Bullock, one of those guys that is a ball hawk. He's a safety, center field type of guy. I think the big questions with Calen Bullock at the next level is, what is his effectiveness potentially in the box? How sound is he technique-wise and toughness-wise when it comes to tackling? We've seen a lot of whiffs over the years. That Utah Pac-12 championship game comes to mind loud and clear, and he didn't really necessarily improve this year in that particular department. I look at a team that has produced, versatile guys in the secondary, particularly at the safety spot, kind of year over year, and sort of develop them given their system. I kind of like Calen Bullock in Buffalo. When you think about what they've done with White, what they've done with Hyde, and how they've sort of really adjusted their scheme according to their personnel, I think that could be a really nice opportunity for Bullock, where he doesn't have to do too much right away, and he can start learning how to be more of kind of a physical guy in the secondary, play, immediate winning football, championship football, learning the right tendencies, getting that right leadership in the locker room. That could be a really nice development experience for him to go to Buffalo.
Yeah. So now that I think about it, if you do get a cover 2 shell, I think he could bite a little bit more because he gets a little bit more help from the corner if you get the 2 verticals.
Sure.
So 2 places I like him to go. I would like to see him go, and I think where he fits. I think he fits in Tampa, and I think he fits in Kansas City.
Oh, interesting.
And I'll tell you why. The reason why I think he fits in Kansas City is because those corners are so good. Those corners are so good. So
yeah, he can just kind of he can just kind of hang out and he find the ball. Yep.
Yeah. And then the thing with Tampa Bay is going to run cover 2 until our great grandchildren die, right? So he could play over the top, and he could get guidance from Antoine Winfield Jr., who's having a very good pro career, who kind of got a lot of negative marks when he was coming through, even though he's a first round pick. Like, that's a great mentorship right there. Like, look, man, let me teach you how to become a pro. Let me tell you how to shut people up, right? So I think him under Antoine Winfield Jr. I think the best pick for him, though, would be Tampa Bay with the mentorship from Antoine Winfield Jr. And he could kind of float over the top, and he could make those ball hawking decisions. Doesn't have to really worry. It puts his fault so low when you're in that situation. So it makes him an excellent player. And he reminds me a lot of Winfield Jr. Ball hawking guy, going to get it. But when it's time to tackle, things change a little bit.
Right. No, absolutely. No, I love that, Fred. I think that's kind of the spot on. That I like that even more than my Buffalo pick certainly is. And when you look at what Bulls is running, you said it best, kind of cover 2 and kind of that variation. Bulls is not like a pure kind of Tampa 2 guy the way, they used to run it back in the early to mid 2000s, but you've got that, you've got that space in sort of that intermediate part of the field. And so you're relying on guys that have real instinct for the ball, guys that have really good closing speed, and guys that, are essentially going to sort of shorten those gaps. What is really cover 2 in a lot of ways? It's sort of a game of chicken, and you're sort of baiting guys. It's like you're baiting quarterbacks to think that there's an opening there, that a guy's open, but he's really not, right? Yeah. And so that's what cover 2 is at its essence. And who better than Calen Bullock to sort of play that game, play that sort of game of possum. And that's really where he succeeded very much at USC. And so I think Tampa would be an incredible fit for Calen Bullock. But hopefully it gets to a situation why I kind of like Buffalo a little bit, Fred, is where it allows him to maybe expand his game a little bit. If he becomes kind of just this niche cover 2, Tampa 2 type of safety, that sort of limits your options career-wise down the line. Hopefully you can sort of make a whole career out of it. But sometimes, things change. The game changes. Defensive schemes change. And so, he is going to have to learn to be a little bit more physical when it comes to kind of tackling. And so I wonder, that's going to be the real watch item with Calen Bullock in his career.
Yeah, he's going to have to. He's going to have to go down the yellow brick road to Oz and go get a little bit of courage so he can make those tackles, but definitely. So we're getting to the final 2 here. So the next one, our guy Marshawn Lloyd. And Marshawn Lloyd, the perfect place for Marshawn Lloyd is right at home in his backyard where he's been playing this past year of football. New head coach in town, likes to run the ball, use a dual running back system. Marshawn Lloyd fits right in to that dual running back system. LA Chargers is perfect pick for Marshawn Lloyd. He can fit in that gap scheme, get that cut back, when they run the power and all those types of things. He doesn't have to carry the load because, Harbaugh's going to use at least 3 running backs. I think he's a perfect, really legit, move-in ready, turnkey, ready to go. He'll fit right in, and it works out because Austin Eckler is gone.
Yep, exactly.
So, it's perfect right now, and I think it works out. I think Marshawn Lloyd is a excellent fit with the Chargers. The Lions too, but the Lions are full, right? The Lions are full Gibbs right now. Yeah, the Lions are full.
But they did lose Swift, right? So they're in the market. So
so he might work out with the Lions.
Yep.
Pittsburgh also, but I just think right now, if plug and play, the Chargers are the guys.
With that gap scheme, Fred, I think that's spot on. I really like him with the Chargers for all the points that you laid out. Again, I think Detroit runs a very similar scheme as well. And just their emphasis on balance. The team that you subtly mentioned is actually the team I really like for Marshawn Lloyd, and that's Pittsburgh. Yeah. When you sort of pair him with a Najee Harris and everything that Pittsburgh likes to do, and I think just the complement with Najee Harris, I think could work out really nicely. The way Seattle, for instance, kind of runs things with the Kenneth Walker and a Zach Charbonnet, I think that could work out really well for Pittsburgh, especially with where Mike Tomlin's philosophy is. Another wild card, Fred, to be honest with you, is what if he got drafted by the Niners and gave CMC a little bit of a blow, and you've got a different sort of look there, because the one thing that Marshawn Lloyd, I think, brings to the table is bigger back, but the feet are so quick that he's very agile. He's very versatile. And then let's not forget the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. Mm-hmm. And I think the one thing that maybe was a knock on the Niners this year, one of many things, I'm sure, but was a little bit of overutilization of Christian McCaffrey. And I don't think they're going to be able to survive doing that for many more years. They're going to have to figure out how to extend McCaffrey's career a little bit to have this window of opportunity. Lloyd would be a great change of pace back in San Francisco with all of the versatile formations that a Kyle Shanahan can run. And he's a little bit bigger. You can kind of get Lloyd in there maybe in some more short yardage situations and preserve Christian McCaffrey for some of the bigger games down the stretch and the playoff run. So I like Lloyd a lot in San Francisco as well as in Pittsburgh with that Najee Harris 1-2 punch and then just the power scheme that Tomlin likes to run.
You know where else I think he might work out well?
Where?
New Orleans.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yep, same thing. Yep. Because of the versatility piece and the catching out of the backfield. Yep, you're spot on.
You're not changing the playbook. You just have a different guy in there. So that definitely works. So, yeah, I love that. Moving on, last guy. Guess who the last guy is?
Oh man, what is it? Is it Williams? Is that the guy?
Actually, we have two more. So let's no, we do have two more because they didn't send my guy to the combine. He's probably going to be a free agent, but we have to talk about him. I can't not talk about my guy. I've been his biggest fan for the past 2 years. You know who I'm talking about now, right?
AJ, baby.
Where does he go? Where does he go?
Austin Jones. Wow. Okay. Where does Austin Jones go? That's a great question. I mean, I don't know, Fred, if he is sort of an NFL quality back, but I think the things that he does, I mean, I think he's a solid in between the tackle type of guy. Look, if you look at what Eckler did for the Chargers and sort of Austin Jones' style of running, they're actually pretty similar. And so if Harbaugh kind of strikes out on some of the guys that we've mentioned or some of the guys that he particularly has in mind to come in, why not take a flyer on Austin Jones and have him at least compete? To our earlier points, Harbaugh's a guy that goes 2, 3 running backs, 4 running backs sometimes. Why not have an Austin Jones be there to be ready for taking some of those carries? I could see Austin Jones be kind of an undrafted free agent, stay in LA and try and make the Chargers roster.
I got a spot for Austin Jones.
Okay.
Dallas.
Oh, interesting. Dallas. Just with with the superior line play. Yep.
You being serious or Well, I mean, but we'll put it like this. Dallas doesn't have a running back right now, right? Yeah. Dallas traditionally plays with 2 running backs. That when you get that next contract from Dallas, it seems like your play just diminishes, right? We saw it with Zeke Elliott. We saw it with Tony Pollard. Tony's gone. Zeke is gone. Who is the Cowboys running back right now?
Well, they got the kid from Kansas State.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And he's going to get the next contract, and the same thing's going to happen with him.
Yeah, exactly.
So, in theory, if he becomes the second back, kind of like Tony Pollard, and nobody really knew about him, but he made some splash, right? The only thing with Austin Jones is he'll break, but he's going to get caught. He never had a big touchdown. He always gets ran down. He'll break, but he's going to get caught, right? But if he does that for a while and, makes a good little career, hopefully Jerry likes him and he could live in Dallas for the rest of his life being famous.
Look at that. Oh, I mean, obviously, Alfred Rowe, the president and CEO of the AJFC, which is the Austin Jones fan club. Yeah. No, I mean, hey, if that's to me, that if everything falls right there, Fred, that works. I think it's going to take a lot for that to fall. I just don't see Austin Jones quite as an NFL caliber back. But if he were to sort of crack a roster, I mean, that would be the home run scenario, and also kind of staying home. I think that there could be an opportunity here.
Even with the Rams, I think for the inside runs when they do,
just to give Kyron a breather for sure.
Yeah. We couldn't pass my boy up. We passed him up last week, and I forgot. I'm not going to pass him up anymore. Austin Jones makes the list. He'll always make the list. He's a Trojan forever.
Trojan forever. He went to Stanford for 3 years, but he's a Trojan forever.
He's a Trojan forever. He's a Trojan forever. Once a Trojan, always a Trojan.
Yes, sir.
So let's talk about him. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about the big guy.
CW.
So
CW.
I'm going to break the internet here. And I've said this before on this show. I've said it with the Desai guys, and I've told you guys this before. I don't think Caleb Williams should be a first overall pick. And the reason why I say this, I'm going to tell you guys why I say this. The reason why I say it is not because of talent, athletic ability, upside, everything like that. That's not why. We legit saw what happens when you put Caleb Williams on a bad team. His junior year at SC, and he cannot do it by himself. It's a team. It's not basketball. You know what I mean? You don't need one guy and a couple of pieces to make it work. Like, you need the complete team. You play hero ball in the NFL, your career is going to get cut short really, really fast. These are the best athletes in the world playing one of the best sports in the world at the highest level in the world. Caleb Williams, unfortunately, Pittsburgh shot their load way too quick. Caleb Williams goes to Pittsburgh, he becomes a Hall of Famer instantly. Caleb Williams goes to anybody 15 and below, he instantly becomes a Hall of Famer. He becomes the Offensive Rookie of the Year. He makes everything happen. That's why I said I need to pull up the draft order, because there's not really – well, there is fits, right? But you look at 15 and below, and you start to wonder, Indianapolis, they're taking. Seattle needs a quarterback. Jacksonville doesn't. Cincinnati doesn't. The Rams, nope. Look at that. Number 20, Pittsburgh. Miami doesn't. Philadelphia, maybe. Houston, maybe. No, Houston doesn't need a quarterback. I'm sorry. My fault, CJ. I apologize. Green Bay's fine. Tampa Bay needs a quarterback. Arizona needs a quarterback. Arizona won't work. They got that off of a draft pick. They got that from Houston. I'm sorry. Baltimore doesn't need one. San Francisco. So the only place for him to go, really, Cowboys low-key need a quarterback, but nobody will say it.
Right.
But
I'm with you there.
You put him in Pittsburgh, right? Pittsburgh, he becomes great. You put him in Dallas. Dallas, he becomes great because Jerry will start to see the product that he has. Jerry's not dumb. He just doesn't know what to do with all the money he spent right now. And that happens all the time with investors. Warren Buffett loses money in the stock market all the time because he takes risks. He doesn't know what to do with Dak. He thought he had the guy. Dak wasn't the guy. Caleb needs to go to one of those teams that's established. You put him in Chicago, he's going to play hero ball. What happens when he plays hero ball? Keenan Allen gets upset. DJ Moore gets upset. DeAndre Swift gets upset. Now we're 3 years in. The Bears has drafted another quarterback. I'm not saying he's not good enough. He's a generational talent. I'm saying he needs to be put in the best situation for this generational talent to succeed in the NFL. And there's nobody at the top of the draft that will help him succeed. I think he will do good in New Orleans. I think they would do the right thing in New Orleans for him to be good. But other than that, there's nobody at the top that will help him succeed. Maybe New England. Maybe the Crafts will do the right thing. The Chargers, he doesn't fit in that system. The Giants, maybe. I don't know. The Titans, maybe. The Falcons have a quarterback. Like the Jets have a quarterback. Maybe the Vikings. Denver, they're like the Bears. The Raiders are like the Bears, right? So he needs to go later in the draft in order to succeed. He goes to the Bears, he'll be done in 4 years. What do you think, Jamal?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, Fred. I think that the question here becomes, why would he play hero ball in Chicago when you kind of take a step back? I think part of what's so perplexing here is why he's so anti-Chicago. you're sort of in a situation like we talked about earlier. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Swift. You have all of these weapons. This team won 7 games last year. They were 7-10. They were kind of knocking on the door here. And now you bring in Caleb with all of these offensive weapons around him. Why would he need to play hero ball if he's got all of these weapons? So to me, the fact that there's been a perception that he's a little lukewarm on Chicago, I don't quite understand that. Now, again, kind of organizationally, I see your point that do they have the infrastructure? Do they have the culture? Do they have kind of sustained success in their DNA to be able to navigate and shepherd through a guy like Caleb Williams? That sort of remains to be seen. My personal opinion, Fred, I think they gave up on Justin Fields way too early. I think Justin Fields has a ton of talent. I mean, we could be seeing a world here where next year or the year after, Justin Fields is a top 6, top 7 quarterback. I really don't understand how this stock of Justin Fields has fallen so far. 25 years old. 2 years ago, he ran for 1,100 yards. He's had more touchdowns than interceptions the last 2 years. He's been 61, 62% completion. I mean, there's ingredients there that really could make him very special. So I think that the Steelers got an absolute steal. I mean, this was highway robbery. We talked earlier about other sports. I mean, this is the equivalent in L.A., Fred, of getting Pau Gasol for Kwame Brown, okay, when you're Pittsburgh. I mean, for what, a 5th-round pick for Justin Fields? Are you kidding me?
A sixth-round pick? 6th-round compensation.
Unbelievable. That was highway robbery, in my opinion. So I don't really – I was joking with some friends earlier today that I think NFL GMs and Bumble super users are the same people. Everything is just all about the next best thing. No one really appreciates what they have. You know, they're always looking for the next best thing. And I think the Bears kind of fell into that trap. So the Bears are very much of an anomaly here, where on paper you would think that Caleb could succeed here with the offensive weapons. But then when you look at kind of some of the decision-making that they've made in terms of why you get rid of Fields, I can see the angst of where the concern would come from. For me, Fred, there's one team that I think he would succeed unbelievably well in from day one, and I think is a tremendous fit, and that's the Seattle Seahawks. When you think about what they have around the quarterback position, you talk about Zach Charbonnet, you talk about Kenneth Walker, you talk about DK Metcalf, you talk about Jake Bobo, you talk about all of that weaponry around the quarterback. Look, Geno Smith revived his career in Seattle, and Caleb Williams has a significantly higher ceiling than a Geno Smith. Now you bring in a Mike McDonald, who obviously is the hottest defensive mind in football today. You got to think Seattle is going to be shored up defensively. You've got a really good defense. You've got really good weapons around the quarterback position, and you have a culture of winning. You have organizational stability. To me, Seattle Seahawks would be kind of the grand slam scenario for Caleb.
No, I agree. That's what I said, Seattle. It's just so, and just to go back on your comment with the Bears, it's just they haven't shored up the defense, right? And maybe it's a rebuild and it takes some time to rebuild, but you trade Justin Fields for a 6th round. There's no way you're telling me Justin Fields. Justin Fields has thrown more touchdowns than Russell Wilson in his 2 years combined.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson knows this dude's going to take his spot. We're waiting for the tantrum from Russell Wilson, and it is what it is. Justin Fields is a very good quarterback in the NFL. It's just the fact that I think because the owners have the influence and they needed to make the move, they were able to push the big networks to say, "Oh, Justin Fields isn't that good." We have eyes. I have eyes. That was a very good quarterback.
No, I'm big on Justin Fields. I think just with the right coaching, the right situation, the sky's the limit for that kid. He's got all the tools. This is a top 6, top 7 quarterback next year, year after, if you put him in the right situation. So I really don't know what Chicago is thinking. And if they're going to treat Justin Fields that way, to your point, Fred,
what are they going to do to Caleb?
Or Caleb Williams. Exactly.
Yep. I was just about to ask you that. So now if I'm Caleb Williams, I'm like, hold on. They just got rid of pretty much a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback and who has the potential to be a Hall of Famer, maybe in the right situation. Are they going to do that to me? They made these decisions, not me. I didn't make these decisions, right? And then they have the opportunity. They have the 9 spot. What are you going to do with that 9 spot, right? Is it 9? I believe. Let me check. They have the 9 spot. So Marvin Harrison Jr. will be gone by then. So who do you get? You don't even need Marvin Harrison. That's another thing that doesn't make sense. You go get Keenan Allen, who hasn't completed the game since he played at Fresno State, and then, completed a season since he played at Fresno State. But you had a chance to go get a receiver from this class that's phenomenal,
generational receiver in Marvin Harrison Jr.
Like, I don't understand what they're doing, and they're making these decisions, and like everybody gets upset because people are like, you're saying like he's lukewarm on Chicago. I see the reasons why. You get rid of Justin Fields. I would have been like, hold up. Wait, you signed Keenan Allen? Wait a minute. I get DeAndre Swift. I understand DJ Moore, but I'm like, Keenan Allen's only good for 6 games.
Yeah.
You got Marvin Harrison Jr., and we could have tore this thing up. There's so many mistakes that they make that they're not putting him in the best situation possible. And the reason why I say he needs, not talent-wise, but establishment-wise, that he needs to go to a team that's and Seattle Seahawks. I said them earlier. That's the perfect place. He goes to Seattle. He might win a Super Bowl or 2. He becomes a big name, and everything works out, and it's supposed to work the way he is. Everybody's going to say he's a bust, but sometimes the best example I could give you, David Carr wasn't a bust. David Carr was not put in a good situation. And Caleb could end up being in the same David Carr situation.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on, Fred. I think the big question that we've had with Caleb, and you and I have been very critical of Caleb and his leadership ability and his maturity and just kind of the emotional intelligence as it pertains to leadership over the course of this season. He still has a lot of growing to do in that department. So if you're going to put the weight of a franchise and an organization on him, that he's going to be the pathfinder, the trailblazer for you to establish your culture, for you to establish your championship habits, for you to establish your pedigree, I think you're putting way too much on him. This isn't a Peyton Manning. This isn't an Andrew Luck. This isn't someone who the emotional intelligence may be further along than the physical. In this particular case, the physical is far and away much more advanced than the emotional. So you have to put him in an organization that already has a very clear organizational and cultural identity. If you are asking him to set that identity, you're setting yourself up for failure. And I think whether that's the Bears, even whether that's the Commanders, I think it's going to be very problematic. Now, let me ask you this, Fred. Assuming the Bears draft him number 1, I think we all believe that's going to be the case now with everything that has happened. What do you do if you're Caleb being lukewarm? I mean, do you just play it out? Do you do it? Are you going to try and do sort of an Eli Manning power move and try to make your way into Washington? How do you think he's going to play this thing out?
I think he's going to have to go. My brother made a good point. The only reason why Eli was able to do it is because Peyton and Archie. Yeah, Archie. I said not Arch, but Archie. Peyton and Archie is his legit blood relatives, right? Share 100% DNA. He had a name in the NFL, and he was able to move. He had a little bit of weight behind him. Caleb doesn't really have any weight behind him, right? And these owners will blackball you quick, and they don't care. Should he do it? 100%. And I think if he wants to be a martyr, if he wants to set a new tone and let the players show that they have some control over what they do, I'm all for it. Because if it was me, I think I would say no, and I would take my chances and see. Because if I'm that good, somebody will take a chance on me. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm saying no. I wouldn't go to Chicago. I just can't do it. It's too junk of an organization.
Yeah. No, it's a fair point. And then it's so interesting because you're setting yourself up potentially in an unstable organization. But can you imagine him making kind of a power move to get out of there, especially after the PR nightmare that was his junior season at USC?
Yeah.
When you sort of add that on top of the fact that he wants to power his way out of a team, he's going to have a lot of ground to make up in terms of sort of perception and winning guys over in terms of the locker room. So it's going to be a fascinating next couple of weeks and months here, Fred, leading into the draft and beyond.
Yeah, no doubt. But yeah, it'll be exciting. I love to see where these kids go. We'll have that coverage for you. We'll be live hanging out with our Decide guys. They did a good job. Go check them out. Decide guys on LA Football Network. They write stories. They do all that good stuff. Jamal, we put another one in the books without Ryan. Where are you at, Ryan? Hello.
hello. I never know what he's doing back there. What's he doing back there? I never know what he's doing back there.
I will tell you this. The Madman and Ryan will be at Pro Day. So if you guys see him, say hello if you guys are at Pro Day.
Please do.
We do not know when we will have the episode, but we will definitely have a Pro Day recap episode. We're playing that one by ear right now. But they will be at Pro Day. I will not be able to. I have to pay for daycare. I got 2 kids now, so I can't afford to miss a day. I can't work from home that day. But they'll be there. I'll be following it closely. That's the benefit of having 2 screens, right, Jamal?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So, the benefit of 2 screens. So we'll have a Pro Day episode. That'll be the next episode coming to you. Pro Days on Wednesday the 20th. But Jamal, we did it again. We put another one in the books. Excited to do it. I can't wait to talk about this Pro Day. I can't wait to see we'll go through this again, and you guys get to see it now and make it. I wish you guys could record it because I would love to.
We'll take some footage for sure. We'll take some footage and see what's up.
Yeah, definitely be able to watch it. Definitely. I appreciate you, Maul. Let's do it again next week. Oh, it's going to be real fun because we'll be able to talk about the Pro Day. The next one's going to be real fun. Appreciate you guys. Love you, fan. You guys know how we do. It's been the Bet Online Salute to Troy podcast. I'm so excited I can't even get the outro. Bet Online Salute to Troy podcast. You know how it goes. Live free, fight on.